I find myself ruminating a lot, and I watched a video by Joe Rogan, a clip on YouTube because he's only putting full episodes on Spotify. A clip with a journalist named Abigail Schreier, and she was describing anxiety in the the young generation. I'm a millennial, but she was saying like the Gen Z kids, younger kids, and she was explaining the difference between my generation and their generation and the way they deal with things, and how like in the past people just learned to have resiliency, and despite going through extreme adverse circumstances, losing their entire families, things like that, and like unstable nations where people could lose their whole family to a bomb strike, or it could be genocide, or there could be a civil war, or, stuff like that, and how despite that the survivors of that often exhibited resiliency and still went on to live happy, fulfilling lives. And so I'm like in the middle, because like how she described it, millennials had this mindset of you can just do anything, and I do embody that mindset for sure. um, I guess I've been going through some tribulations in my personal life, and I think the subculture of these Gen Zers has been leaking into my mindset with like, oh my God, how am I gonna get out of the situations I'm in? And so I found myself lately in a rut where sometimes I can feel positive and I can have great attitude and great feelings and get over the day, and other days I just feel like, yo, what am I doing? Like, how am I supposed to like live? And so she brought up a great point that I'm glad I heard, where she was like, ruminating only enhances the problems that you're dealing with. And I've noticed I have a bad habit of ruminating on my problems, but I've also subconsciously noticed that it does not help. And so I thought to myself, what is the solution? So then I kind of just went on another video, looked at some guy. I don't know what his medical specialty is, but he seems it's a 6-year-old video at University of York, so I'm guessing somewhere in the UK. And he describes his solution that he observed in the 6-year-old video about ruminating. And he says, you want to, what he did in his study at the time was they used the app on a smartphone to ask these people with extreme anxiety disorders, stuff more serious than myself, where they asked them a series of questions like that. He said takes about a minute, and then after that uh, and they give the patient, I guess, like an immersive game to play, something like Tetris, essentially, and just something that has nothing to do with the problems they're dealing with, so that way they could be fully immersed. And what he was trying to do is, because they learned people with this anxiety, with any anxiety disorder, they're tapping into a part of their brain that is usually used for conscious, clear thought processes. And so they're activating a part of their brain that anytime they're trying to think clearly, they end up triggering like an emotional part, and uh, they're not ever having positive thought loops. They're just having constantly negative thought loops, and one, they're not dealing with the issue, and then two, they can't think straight to deal with the issue. So it's just like it just all gets worse. And so the key is, he was noticing like it's better to interrupt the ruminating by stopping ruminating. And so the questions were for, I guess, the medical professionals, maybe the psychologists or psychiatrists, whichever one it is, or cognitive behavioral therapists, whatever kind of experts are dealing with this, because I don't know who Edie was. Um, the key is that in those questions, it was to give the medical professional a sample size of what the person's thinking when they're ruminating, when they're possibly in that thought loop. Like the app would just ask them to answer these questions at like periodic moments throughout the day, to like stop the flow of whatever they're doing, and to check in with them and see like, how much are you ruminating? And it would do this so that over time the professionals could see, is their thinking pattern improving, remaining constant, or regressing, getting worse. And I guess the trend was that it was improving, and then the game was to actually distract them altogether. And this made me really think about like how I'll play Call of Duty, and sometimes I'll feel guilty for it, but like the only video game I really play is Call of Duty on my PlayStation. And I thought about it. I was like, I'll play that, and then I play chess on my phone, and I play Duolingo, but it's like half playing and half learning. So like the only real games are chess and say Call of Duty on my PlayStation. And I used to think like, yo, that is like such a waste of time. But I realized what I'm doing is I'm disrupting these negative patterns that give me an ability to refresh myself, to go back to the task and the work and the goals that I'm aiming to achieve in my personal life. So in a sense, it's probably one of the best choices I could be making, because otherwise it drive me crazy just trying to work all the time, because it's not so much the work, but it's when I have that moment to be able to get into a negative thought loop about something I'm ruminating about. And so I'd say I had a conversation recently with a family member, a cousin of mine, and it kind of, that combined with a conversation I have at home with my mom, it triggered me in a very negative way yesterday in the morning with my mom, and yesterday in the evening with my cousin, even though that wasn't his intention, but it just was kind of like the byproduct of the conversation. And that led to me feeling how I was feeling this morning. And I just felt like, yo, I gotta get out of this mindset. And furthermore, I've noticed there are plenty of different things lately that stimulate me in a certain way to think negative thought loops. And I have to prevent those situations as much as possible so I can be productive and positive. And yeah, I've recognized that it's literally rumination that I'm doing. And so I guess I said, let me just whip out the camera one time. I'm still at the same park. I just went to the other side of the park where I shot the last video about the meaning of life. But so let me just whip out the phone and talk about rumination, because I think this is a common negative habit that a lot of people have when they're going through problems in life, that they consider to be the most extreme in their life. It could be a family member dying, or it could be you scratched your bumper, but whatever it is that you think is very extreme, it's all relative to your life experience. And so these are things that can cause people to ruminate. And so I just wanted to share this because I'm realizing, I feel like I just unlocked the gem. I haven't put it into practice yet, of consciously interrupting my thought loops. Well, in a way I have, but I wouldn't say consciously. I've been doing it subconsciously. But now that I have a much higher awareness of it, I'm sure it's gonna help me improve my quality of life, especially mentally. So I just wanted to share it and let you all kind of think about that, what it means for you in your life, and hopefully you get some benefit from it. And as I learn more, obviously I'll share more.